Prayer has been really hard for me lately. I heard friends, classmates, and community members lament in the weeks and months following October 7th last year. Even at Kol Ami, with such beautiful music and poetry, some have said God feels distant. After such tragedy and uncertainty, some looked to God for support or comfort and found God near. Others searched for God and felt God out of reach. For still others, this sense of God's absence was nothing new. They'd lost faith in God years ago, or never believed in God at all. Never felt right praising a God or asking a God for anything. Here at Kol Ami, words from Deuteronomy are inscribed in our ark. The words come in response to this commandment: Lashuv el Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha, to turn to God with all your heart and with all your soul. After we hear this commandment, we read the words in our ark, which many of us hold close, a promise from Moses. HaMitzvah hazot, this mitzvah, asher anochi mitzavcha hayom, which I have commanded you on this day, lo niflet hi mimcha, it's not too baffling for you. Velo rechokahi, it's not far from you. Lo vashamayim hi, it's not in the heavens. Velo me'ever liyam hi, it's not beyond the seas. Ki karov elecha hadavar me'od, beficha uvilvavcha la'asoto. No, it is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart, to observe it. But there are many for whom turning to God with a full heart and soul is beyond the heavens, beyond the seas, not close, not in their mouths, not in their hearts. There are many for whom God is baffling, beyond reach, beyond reason, even beyond their spiritual imagination or their gut sense. Is there a place in Judaism for people who don't believe in God? Can atheists pray? Can people who don't believe in God become Jewish? Does acting morally or observing Torah depend on a belief in God? Can we at Kol Ami make space for the beliefs of those who don't believe in God? I pose these questions not to elicit definitive answers, but to invite you to consider them with me. These are questions I, for one, cannot ignore. My camp friends and I like to think we know everything about each other. So this summer, when we were together, we played a game to see if that was true. In each round, everyone closed their eyes except the person posing a question to the group. Who here prefers chocolate ice cream over vanilla? The chocolate lovers raised and then lowered their hands, and then we all guessed how many had preferred chocolate. We continued with lighthearted questions until one of my friends posed a different one. Who here believes in God? We closed our eyes, and those who believed in God raised their hands. Out of 11, how many raised their hands? 2. 2 out of 11 Reform Movement camp alumni and former staffers, all still Jewishly engaged. 2 raised their hands. 2 believed in God. Among Reform Jews, according to a 2021 Pew survey, 18% believed in God as described in the Bible, 59% believed in some higher power or spiritual force, and 21% believed in neither. But surveys like this one, or the one posed informally by my friend, don't contain the nuance needed to fully capture the diversity of beliefs in God among Jews. In his book, Open Judaism, a guide for believers, atheists, and agnostics, Rabbi Barry Schwartz identifies hard and soft atheists. Not all atheists are hard and anti-religious, he teaches. Some are soft and spiritually minded. These soft atheists are those who still search for some belief in a transcendent being or force or spirit that does not contradict their reason. There are scholars who have shed even more light on the complex nature of belief. Consider these 6 types of atheism, as outlined here by Rabbi Sherwin Wine. Ontological atheism, denying the existence of any creator or manager of the universe. Ethical atheism, believing that even if there is a creator, there is no reward or punishment for our behaviors. Existential atheism, believing that although there may be a creator, there is no providence over human life. Agnostic atheism, believing that God exists but cannot be proven or disproven. Agnostic atheism, cautiously denying that God exists because the term God is so vague or confusing as to be meaningless. And pragmatic atheism, a view that any belief about God is not right or wrong, but irrelevant. Do any of these describe you? Do any of them describe your friends or your family members? The author of these 6 types of atheism, Rabbi Sherwin Wine, grew up keeping kosher and keeping Shabbat. Soon after his ordination by Hebrew Union College in 1956, Wine began to recognize his disbelief in God and broke from the Reform movement. What was the deal breaker? Wine said, "The message of the Holocaust is that there isn't any magic power. No right hand of God, no eagle's wings to carry Jews out of Nazi Europe." In 1963, Wine opened Birmingham Temple in the suburbs of Detroit, beginning with 8 families who were doubtful of their faith. 6 years later, he founded the Society for Humanistic Judaism. Humanistic Judaism, Wine taught, is based on 2 principles: that the source of power for solving human problems lies within human beings, and that Judaism is more than a religion. It is the culture of the Jewish people. It is often said that Judaism has no creed, no essential declaration or test of belief. Rather, our actions are what matter. But that's not exactly true. There are those in our tradition who assert that belief in God is essential to Judaism. The first of the 10 Commandments is Anochi Adonai Elohecha, I am Adonai, your God. And the first of Rambam's Ikarim, his 13 principles of faith, is Laha'amin Mitziut Haboreh, to believe in the reality of the Creator. The Rambam is joined by many, from Rabbi Joseph Caro to Rabbi Eugene Borowitz. Dr. Borowitz, a leading theologian in the Reform movement and a former professor at Hebrew Union College where I study, argued that Judaism clearly requires a belief in God. In his book, How Can a Jew Speak of Faith Today?, he responds to the post-war movement which argued that God is dead. Borowitz writes, "Judaism cannot end there. We who can find the strength, the courage to stay Jews must not let it end there. For if God is dead, then Auschwitz was not despicable and Treblinka was permitted. If there is no transcendent standard of holiness by which all men are bound, then why should the strong not rule and torture and destroy?" This quotation represents Dr. Borowitz's deep belief in the essential connection between faith in God and morality. The CCAR, the Reform Movement's rabbinic leadership organization, has affirmed this view of the necessity for a belief in God. In 1991, a majority of the CCAR Responsa Committee rejected the application of a humanistic congregation, one which removes all mention of God from its prayer book, to join the Reform movement. We do not require the mitzvah students to recite a declaration of belief before they are called to the Torah. We don't ask a prospective new member to profess belief in God before they can join the congregation. But, according to a 1993 responsum, the CCAR would deny membership to the Jewish people to a prospective convert who cannot affirm the reality of God. Today, however, there are Reformed clergy who do accept prospective converts who do not believe in God. During my class seminar on conversion last year, I asked our visiting panel of New York cantors and rabbis, what would you do if a prospective convert was an atheist? The 3 panelists agreed that they would have no problem converting someone who did not believe in God. And there is a Reformed congregation today making worship space for Jews who don't believe in God. Senior Rabbi Andrea Koznowski of Eitz Chaim in Lombard, Illinois, offers a humanistic service once a year. Although God is an essential part of Rabbi Koznowski's life, her previous years working at a humanistic congregation gave her a sense of obligation to connect with those who don't believe in God, which she suspects is a large portion of her current Reform congregation. Rabbi Koznowski wrote, "At our congregation, no one is judged based upon their theological system." Rabbi Koznowski took one step. Rabbi Amichai Lau Lavi, the 39th generation of rabbis in his family, went further. The congregation he founded, Lab Shul in New York, defines itself as God optional. Lab Shul uses language and translation to add expansiveness to prayer, to reach both those who do and who do not connect with traditional ideas of God. Conservative Rabbi Harold Schulweis was similarly motivated. In his 2004 Yom Kippur sermon titled Outreach to Jewish Secularists and Atheists, Schulweis described his reframing of God for non-believers. He asked his confirmation students, "How many of you believe that God is merciful, God is just, God is forgiving, God feeds the hungry?" Some raised their hands, many did not. Then he asked, "Who agrees that mercy is godly, justice is godly, forgiveness is godly, feeding the hungry is godly?" This time, many students raised their hands. Prayer is not meant to move God, Schulweis taught. Prayer is meant to move you and me, to move the godliness in you and me, and to move us out of the pew and into the marketplace, out of our designated seats, into the world. But it is not just modern rabbis who lead with openness towards those who do not believe. In decreeing the Israelites' expulsion from the land, the prophet Jeremiah claims to quote God's justification. Ve'oti azavu ve'et torati lo shamaru. They have forsaken me and not kept my Torah. In Midrash Eicha Rabbah of the late Talmudic period, Rabbi Huna and Rabbi Yirmiyah, in the name of Rabbi Chia bar Abba, rewrite this verse. Halavai oti azavu v'torati shamaru. If only they had forsaken me, but kept my Torah. Whether you believe in God as described in the Bible, no God at all, or something in between, we have a responsibility to consider what kind of community we want to create and how we will accommodate those who do not believe in God. How will we welcome those for whom God is baffling, beyond reach, beyond reason, beyond even their spiritual imagination or gut sense? Do you believe, as Rabbi Barry Schwartz posits, that there is a place, there ought to be a place, not only for Jews who are atheists, but for atheistic Judaism? Can Reform Judaism, can Kol Ami hold space for different God concepts, including those in which a person does not believe in God? When my friend Sam was in 4th grade, he attended a Jewish day school. Sam insisted that he was an atheist. During a parent-teacher conference, his mom asked if her son's atheism had caused problems in class. The head of school overheard her question and jumped in. If there is no God, what we are teaching here is all the more important.